I had to plug phone.
I'm gonna do this off that streaming record.
What's that?
This is gonna be off the record. I'm just letting you know how we're gonna proceed. What we intend to do is to have questions from the public of the traffic engineer for up to 20 minutes. And there may be a lot more than that, but that's what we're gonna do because we do want to start the testimony of the architect this evening, which we'll probably not get through, but we want to get it started because we know all we want to hear about it. So that's our current strategy on meeting strategy, so.
And Mr.
whenever you're
Chairman?
ready.
For the benefit of the public, can I add, so there's no concern or question? My understanding is all three witnesses will be back, and members of the public will be afforded a full and fair opportunity to ask each and every one of those three witnesses further questions, as well as we have as you have all heard, the board has a independent traffic consultant that the board retained to also ask questions and possibly have a report with respect to the traffic engineering and the parking.
And then, of course, after questioning, at some point, there'll be opportunities for comment from the public.
Right. After all, that part of the case is over, members of the public will be sworn. And so your comment has the weight of testimony equal to the weight of the testimony of all the other witnesses. So that's why we swear you in.
A lot of material. So how are we doing, Denise? We're good?
We're good now, thank you.
Okay. So, John,
So Mr. Korak is available for questions, and again, just confirming everything Mr. Warner just said. Mr. Korak will be back, this 20-minute period. We are not suggesting that's the limitation. We'll be fully available for questions, and the public wanted to hold them to hear from the town's professional or for whatever other case, but he's now available for questions.
all right, so, do any of the public, this elite group here, have questions for this witness on traffic? And, okay, come on,
I have a question.
come on
Wait,
down and
Want to go there?
go to the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully hear
And you
you.
do have to give us your name and address, but you don't have to be sworn in.
Diane Greenfield, 15 Oldwood Road. Oh, you're here.
Can I have the address one more time? Sorry. The address?
15 Oldwood Road. You testified that the carve out on Mount Airy Road, that 2 trucks about fit in there. My question is, when the 3rd truck arrives, where is it going to be waiting?
Right, it's a great question. There's not, I'll stand up. The space in that area wouldn't accommodate that many trucks. We don't anticipate that many trucks being on the site at the same time. But that's the layout of the site.
If there was a restaurant there and there's they're unloading food, or supplies, that's going to take some time. I imagine there would be plenty times that there are going to be more than 2 trucks waiting to get in there.
Also, may I suggest at the end of that, you're saying, isn't that correct?
Isn't that correct?
Great question. Certainly with the retail use, there are scheduled deliveries. Similar with residential uses, there are deliveries that are made to the residents. However, with the frequency of those uses, the scheduling of them, we wouldn't anticipate that level of truck traffic.
But if there were, they would be sitting on Mount Airy Road waiting for one of the trucks to do a K-turn and maneuver around the other truck that's in there to get out.
I
Correct.
don't want to speculate the hypothetical. I also don't think the truck would just sit on Mount Airy Road blocking that full lane of traffic.
I'd be surprised. Can I ask another question?
Yes, you can ask. me
Thank
a
you.
question, yeah.
Driveway, I know the sightline is improved from where it was currently. However, when the cars come around from the light, they're making the turn and they're going very, very slow right now. When they have that extra space there, they're gonna be going much faster. They'll be going up to 30 miles an hour if they're not speeding. And the sightline will be better, but have you taken into consideration the accelerated speed of the cars and difficulty it's gonna make for somebody making a left-hand turn onto 202 across traffic over there.
Right, so the improved sightline obviously puts you further away from that crest, that vertical curvature. But part of that, you know, the roadway geometry, those conditions mean that the car is accelerating. It hasn't accelerated through that speed, and so that's providing those vehicles a little bit additional time to be able to see that car oncoming. And to that extent, this location does afford the best visibility for sightlines, and it's also the location that is directly specified in the redevelopment plan.
Okay, thank you.
Does the model consider that the acceleration, you know, from the intersection? Fairly elevated.
Kind of level service perspective or the
Somewhere.
sightline?
Somewhere like this, well, I guess the speed of the model's kind of.
Yeah, the model
speed.
accounts for speed, certainly. The sightlines, I know Mr. Simoff requested the profiles. That accounts for the grade as well, and the grade does factor into, you know, certain sightline requirements where, an uphill approach requires less sight distance. And that's usually reserved for steeper slopes, 6-9%, you know, if you're built on the side of a hill or something like that, but, the intent there is that there's an acknowledgement that grade does impact sightline.
So there was previous testimony that there will be on-site management. Will there be an attempt, or can you stipulate that the management company will schedule the mass deliveries for the restaurants and the retail space? Is that possible?
Yeah, we'll speak to that when we come back and talk to operations. It's a good point.
Another question from the public. Here, come on down.
Hi, Mike Stevens, 12 Woodland Road. Two questions. One is, are left turns going to be prohibited into and out of the loading dock?
Into and out of the loading dock. It's not explicitly signed, but that's the intent, is that the current configuration does not support that left turn movement.
Just a follow-up, is it possible the county is, yeah, you probably know, is gonna limit you anyway, and so you
Very
cannot
likely, very
make a
likely.
left-hand turn?
Yeah,
It's just possible if they get the county information back.
Maybe defer again, but that could be something that could be stipulated by the.
Sorry, can I get that again?
I'm just asking if that would be something that would be stipulated by someone and signed on site.
yeah,
Yes?
That's an affirmative, yes.
Yes.
Stipulated.
as long as the county is good, and I've never seen a county say no left turns, so.
So now you're a second.
So the engineer last week testified that trucks could back up into the loading zone and showed a diagram of that. You said that they wouldn't be doing that.
Go ahead, sorry.
So to clarify that, the question is between the consistency of the testimony, I assume. To clarify,
The first one.
right, the trucks headed north on Mount Airy bear right into the loading area, the outdoor portion, and then internal to the site, back up into the loading zone or into the covered loading area underneath.
I believe the diagram, correct me if I'm wrong, the diagram showed a truck backing up into the loading zone.
No,
It was a
that's not
turning
correct.
diagram and it showed what he said, what
Yes.
pulling up into the area, into the open area, and then backing into toward the doorway, basically.
That's
Is that consistent?
Yes, that's correct.
No back.
Wouldn't the template restrict the second truck in the loading zone?
Would hit the doors, I mean.
No, but if the truck has to turn into the loading zone. And then, wouldn't it take almost the full, does it take the full width of the loading zone in order to circulate in and out?
Right, so to get into that covered loading area, yes.
So therefore, it would only be able to hold one truck.
I mean, you could stage too with more movements, and there's a variety of size trucks, vans, etc. I don't want to say it's impossible to stage that.
And probably just take it, we do, one of the things we need to show food trucks.
Yes, so this is.
Yep.
I'm sorry, for benefit of, we're gonna figure out how best to do it so that it complies with the due process rights of everybody here. Including all the members of the public. Are we looking, is that one of the exhibits that was
Yes.
previously shown? Is that exhibit, truck turning was A3, if I recall correctly? Maybe we can have A3 put up on the board so everybody can see it, and you can ask him the question.
Paul, could you? Paul, could you assist?
Exhibit A3? I don't want the public or the board members to be left out.
That's the point, that's the exit maneuver. Oh,
Well, I mean, it's gotta be on record. Everybody's gotta hear it.
Yeah, so I'll go to the sheet one of that.
zoom in for me, Paul.
The engineer testified that that truck is backing.
Yeah, is this exhibit A3?
Exhibit A3.
And it's for sheet 1 or 2, if I recall, it's 2 pages. This is the first page?
First page.
Okay, and, Mr. Stevens has some questions.
I recall that that was explained, that that truck was backing up, and that's what it looks like to me. And that's what a lot of people here remember.
Okay, so I will
So,
explain.
can I just ask my question?
Yeah, Mr. Stevens, I just want other people to stop. Please let Mr. Stevens ask his question so it can be answered.
If you could confirm that, and then if you do confirm that that is a truck backing up, can you explain how that's going to happen when there are 10 cars behind it that are not going to allow it to back up?
Right, so I understand the confusion. But the truck will not be backing from Mount Airy Road into the dock. So here's the progression. If I can use the mouse. You're starting at the, the south end headed north on Mount Airy Road. And you can see on the truck how the back tires, you have the two, the two sets of tires, even your rear tires on a truck are typically your double set, and the front tires are the single set of tires. You see how it's a thicker tire here. And that helps us orient, the rectangle that we are showing as the truck. And so that truck maneuvers, makes the right turn in, and then straightens out in this loading area, backs into the loading dock area, can unload, and then at time of departure, pulls straight forward again and out Mount Airy Road. And you can see here how it's continuing to face north with the front tires up front and the rear tires in the back.
Okay. Is it conceivable that the truck is too big to be able to do that?
And there are trucks that are too big to be able to do that. This truck, the SU30, can navigate the space.
Does that mean?
You would agree to do the 40, but
Right.
come back.
Yeah.
To see.
It's a SU30 is 30 feet long from bumper to rear bumper.
One more, when you replot it, could you show the stop bar and the striping
On Mount Airy Road.
on Mount Airy?
Yes, be happy to.
The 2 lanes?
Yeah.
Next question from the public of the traffic engineer. Come on in.
Carrie Hazelton. Minebrook
Hi,
Road.
I'm sorry, can I get that? again?
Yes, it's Carrie, Kerry, Hazelton, Haselton, Minebrook Road. Just thinking about this design with the loading dock. So for this building, the only way that a truck is going to be able to access the building is northbound on Mount Airy. There's not going to be any left turns, either out or in. So how will the truck driver, will there be some way of informing them that they need to be coming in off 287 and Mount Airy North, so that we don't get into a situation with trucks that are expecting that they're gonna be able to come south on Mount Airy and pull in? Or alternatively, and I wouldn't think ideally, making a left onto 202 northbound and then pulling into the residential driveway. Is that the backup? And if so, is there enough clearance for a truck to get in there underneath, do their job and get out?
Right, so the truck circulation question is something that we encounter at hundreds of sites where you have a turning restriction at the driveway. Anytime you have a left turning restriction at a driveway, you're not able to make that turn into the driveway from that direction. So it's the same principles apply here. They need to come from Mount Airy Road to the south, likely coming off that exit from 287, and utilize the loading area in that way. To that end, no, we do not. The second question, no, we do not anticipate or forecast those trucks utilizing the residential, commercial, the parking structure access drive for passenger vehicles.
So when an Amazon truck comes northbound, eastbound on 202 and gets to the light and makes a right or sees that there is no truck access there, what is there? They're going to then, there's not a lot of options. They're getting back where they need to go, North Finley Avenue.
These logistics companies have very comprehensive routings, understanding of access, especially on multifamily projects where you have multiple clients being served at one single location. The logistics companies have a very well-oiled machine in that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I asked you a question as a follow-up to that.
Sure.
So just an Amazon van, not an Amazon truck.
Mhm.
They can't pull in and turn left coming out. It's still gonna be no left turn for them as well?
At this point, we're looking at a left turn restriction for them as well.
Okay.
I mean, we're open to discussion from the board on it, but that was my understanding from the stipulation.
And it also ties to delivery, so as part of it is how many of what style trucks are gonna be in this loading zone.
Sure.
That speaks to, and what other deliveries are there, and many of the Amazon vehicles may have another way of on premise of delivering something, but that's all part of the discussion. And the companies can certainly limit the height and length of the trucks that they dispatch to the facility. Still, the important thing is, okay, how many trucks are gonna be in that loading zone? How does it work? How, when to arrive? All these questions are still important to answer. Okay, next question.
Hi, Aaron Duff, 51 Crestview Drive in Burnsville. You testified that the passenger vehicle deliveries or Uber, DoorDash, things like that would be utilizing the residential driveway to come down as a loading zone.
They have an option to.
They have an option to, they don't have an option to use the loading zone. They do have an option to use the, we're talking passenger vehicle.
Yes, yeah, the option to use the ramp down to the garage area, not the loading zone. So an option to utilize the ramp down to the parking area.
And if they want to be making their deliveries, picking up their fares somewhere other than on an active roadway, they would have to use that. Is that correct?
Correct.
So my question is, and I'm sorry, you also testified that it's a metered lot, correct? So there's a gate before you get.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There's a gate where you pay before you get in or take a ticket.
I would have to defer those questions to
Yeah.
operations,
So-
how they.
Yeah,
I think we need-
we actually have an answer for that, and we'll speak to operations for those short deliveries, the
Okay.
Grubhub delivery and the accommodations that would be made. They wouldn't be paying a meter rate for those types of deliveries, but we'll speak to that at a future meeting for operations.
Okay, understand. It's important, but it's
Yep,
quite in scope.
yep. No, it's a good point. Don't get me wrong.
All right,
Jerry Negri, Ambar Place.
So I'm sorry, can I
36.
get the?
Jerry Negri, 36 Ambar,
Can you please spell your last name, sir?
Negri.
Thank you.
I have a question. I haven't heard the address of how you're going to unload for the stores on the other end. Where's that truck he's gonna unload in that loading dock in the residential area and then they're gonna walk the products all the way around? Is that how they're doing it?
So I will sort two parts to this.
Okay.
The first part is the loading operations will take place in that loading zone. The second portion is related to the movement of goods on the site, and I will defer that to the architect with the full routings and design of the building.
It's important to go through the circulation.
Yes.
Last question.
Okay, let's try and make it a good one then. Michelle Conover, on the 16 Rose Avenue. So I live right off of Mount Airy Road, and the loading dock is like a concern for me. So my concern is that because the trucks can only come in on Mount Airy, we all know that that's, that's not gonna be reality, because trucks are gonna get diverted off 287 when when Mount Airy is backed up, which happens often. If there's an accident on 287, trucks do not always come in on 287. They'll be coming in from northern 287 and coming down through the main part of Bernardsville. They'll be coming up on 202, also, and wanting to make that right-hand turn. Is there any type of traffic study that can be done or projected that will kind of show these misrouted trucks that now have to turn around somewhere so that they can be coming down Mount Airy Road? Because if anybody who lives in that area knows, there's just all little side streets and neighborhoods. So I'm wondering what the impact on those neighborhoods is going to be for these trucks that have not been told you must come down Mount Airy. Because they're gonna come in from all different directions and go, oh, I can't turn in there. And they're gonna want to turn around fast because they have delivery schedules. So that's my concern. I don't know if there's a traffic study that can be done or projections that can be made for that, based on your number of deliveries that you are guessing. I think it's gonna be a little bit higher based on my little street and the deliveries that we get, but I'm just concerned about the local neighborhoods and the impact that these trucks might have on them.
Understood, and I think something for us to do would be to coordinate with the board's traffic engineer to help understand that.
Yeah,
Can
it's
I
worth
just have one
having,
last thing?
it's worth having a section or discussion that says for trucks approaching from each of the various locations, what's the expected path? But people don't realize when a truck approaches from west to the south, they're not supposed to come to the intersection. They're supposed to go up Claremont. That's the only road they're allowed to take, and most people wouldn't know that that's the case, but it's important that be included as, and I agree with you, collaboratively, as a discussion of how truck consequences, routing consequences would be expected to be handled. I know you say, well, they could just route them, but it's like, well, does that mean they have to turn on White Neck and go up and go over? What are they gonna do? All right.
Can I get her last, spell her last name?
Conover, Conover.
So this witness will be available in the future for more questions. But now we would like to take a shot at, allowing the architectural witness.
At least to start out, yeah. Kevin?
You need to swear?
Yeah, if you can raise your right hand. You swear to God or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, can you please provide the board a brief summary of your educational, professional background, licenses you hold?
Good. I'm an architect for approximately 40 years, graduate of Yale University. Have worked in a variety of types of projects for Robert A.M. Stern Architects, who are a nationally known firm. And among my projects have been high-end residential projects, the Museum of the American Revolution in Philadelphia, projects for several universities like Harvard, and I have a particular interest in town planning.
I'm sorry, in what?
Town planning.
And your license?
Licensed in New Jersey and New York and about 14 other states.
They always ask the question, is your license current?
It is, I just read it, so thank you.
Board member Simoff, you're stealing all my thunder.
Here, no fun. So I thought I would give you
Thank you, Chairman.
I thought I would give you a quick walkthrough the plans that they are not necessarily self-explanatory. And we start at the bottom with the lower level parking plan.
And these are the plans submitted.
These are the plans that are submitted. So
More than 10 days in advance of today, correct?
these are, have been submitted for a long time.
Right, and the date is last revised?
I don't think they're revised.
Yes, they are.
I'd like us to refer to these plans as the baseline plans for this year, for this project.
These have,
Oh.
yeah, let's see.
Because it's original, it's the vanilla original stuff.
Yeah, okay. It's just scrolling.
So they all-
Moving, so it's just scrolling. Okay, just scroll up.
Is it September 13, 2023?
I'm sorry, can I get that one? You guys are.
Is it September 13, 2023?
Yes, with a revision of 126-24.
Mr. Warner, why don't we just to be clear here, why don't we just mark them anyway? And that way there's no question. And I think we're up to 8-4.
You should be.
I think so.
I think we did.
Yeah.
No, you know what?
We didn't do any new ones, no.
No, because we just showed ones we've already.
All right, A4 could be the whole compendium of the last revised January 26, 24 architectural plans, however many sheets there are. What does it go from A100 to A300? Okay.
And Denise, these are posted on our web. Denise,
If they were submitted, then yes, they're there, yes.
So we're the professionals with printing these out themselves, just to be clear, because I don't believe they've been submitted.
Well, now they're marked
Now they're
and,
marked
and please
we'll make
get
sure
them to
everything
Denise
is in.
ASAP so they can be on the website if they're not already up there.
all right,
So not particularly interesting, but the thing to know is that this level is completely underground. So it is effectively along the railroad track line. It is one level. This level is one full level below that, and effectively along Morristown Road or 202, it's two full floors below grade. So I will go to the next. Oh,
well, wait a minute. Do you just want to go through all the sheets for perspective first? Is that what you're doing?
well,
Not
I think
explaining each one?
I thought it would be best to explain in detail the next one. I'm sorry, which way shall I?
Just navigate the mouse.
Yeah, there's the button right there.
Can't press the wall.
It makes it
Yeah.
difficult. So I think the one floor plan of the garage that requires the most explanation is this one, which is it is approximately the level of the loading area and the level of Mount Airy Road at that corner here. And that there's pretty much an entire floor grade change between the northeast corner of the site on Morristown and this one. So that's approximately like a level 409. 411 actually at the just where the driveway comes out, and the level of this loading area here at Morristown Road is 399. So it's 12 to 13 feet of difference between those two elevations. My colleague Paul had noted that one of the optimizations we did was actually to raise this level about 1.5 feet, which allowed us to shorten the ramp that's in this gray area coming down from Morristown Road. And one of the advantages that gave us is the ability to have a direct access for pedestrians from this parking level to the corner plaza on the intersection. So you were able to, without using an elevator, and so we imagine that these are actually primarily the retail parking spaces, a person be able to just actually go directly onto this space. So some of the question, I know there were questions about, how do retail parkers, know where to go and do they have access to an elevator? In fact, they don't need it. And so then to see this area here, this area here is the loading, the enclosed loading dock.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you try to speak directionally so that if and when anybody reads the transcript, they'll understand what over here and over there means?
Okay. All right. It's hard to explain. So this is the loading area, and I
The
just
lower left-hand corner.
is the loading area, and this, we talked about how the trucks can back up in here. I'm gonna actually zoom in on that spot so you can see it more clearly. Adjacent to the loading area is additional space, which we imagined will be part of receiving packages, and also provides a way to get into the retail. And also adjacent to this is the service elevator for the whole building and the bottom of the trash chute. So there are two trash chutes, one for recycling, one for trash. There's compactors at the bottom of that. These have been actually based on some of the projects that we toured that Advance has done, and larger buildings, it's pretty much the same size. Trash and compactor locations, and those will be able to be taken out and picked up by a trash truck, again, in the same location. And those are completely covered and screened from public view.
Question about the service, and is that, it's internal of the garage. Is that intended for cars or is that walled off?
It's walled off, and some of the things we're looking at are whether some of that space should be used for a package room, for example.
Okay.
This is an issue, and my clients will talk about that in operations later. Things are evolving, and each of their apartment buildings have had a little bit different answer to that. So we've reserved that space to be able to deal with how much goes to that and how much we want to dedicate to getting the service requirements for the retail uses.
Can I ask on that, with the garbage, you're saying there's a garbage chute and compactors, and I assume that's for the residential
That's right.
aspect of the project. You have a restaurant, you have retail, where is your garbage for that?
It is, it's assumed to be in this area.
So a restaurant has to,
They have access to this level, and
okay,
I will point that out in a moment from.
and you have capacity along with 68 residences, some 2 and 3 bedrooms, to also manage restaurant waste?
No, the restaurant waste would be separated.
Separate.
So it is in that wedge that's labeled service and
There's a
MEP.
whole question of whether there'd be restaurants in this, because it depends on what they stipulate to in terms of retail usage and parking equivalents. So,
Parking will affect
yeah.
restaurants.
So it's a great question, but there's even a more interesting basic question about whether restaurants will be part of this. I have one really important question for you, which is, this is a deluxe super premium residential facility, and you're gonna make me walk the farthest possible that you could have picked to drop my garbage down a chute. It's the absolute worst location from a resident's perspective in terms of where you're telling me I have to drop my garbage and recycling. What was in your head?
It is virtually impossible to, the chutes have to lead to compactors, and the compactors really cannot be anywhere else on the
Yes, they
site.
can.
How big are the compactors?
Well, they fit in that room.
They fit in that room.
Well, how do you get them out of that room? Question.
No, they roll.
They roll out.
This is the the way that Advance has done it in other apartment buildings.
This is a significant architectural problem.
Yeah.
In terms of degrading the value of this project, which we care about.
Mhm.
And it makes it harder to sell these units and rent them.
Mhm.
And I gave you the answer to this. And you
Yes,
need to look at it again and say, okay, I'm pretending to be a renter of this. Where do I want to drop my garbage? And it isn't where you got it.
it is not the
No,
ideal place for it, but
it's a really terrible, it's the worst place for it.
it is literally impossible
It
to
is
get a
not.
trash truck
It is not.
into other places on
No,
that
it's
site.
not. And I gave you the answer. They may not have given it to you.
I did read it. I saw
It is
it.
not-
I'm sorry.
it
I'm
is
just
not.
professional.
Wait, I'm sorry,
My
one of the
professional
factors.
opinion is that it is impractical to get a truck in that place and provide the number of parking spaces we need to, and to provide
Forget that. That's not true. I'm saying this point is one of many that are unacceptable. This degrades the value and the profitability of this project. And as architect, there are a number of concerns like this that reduce the lucrativeness of this facility, and we're partners with you. We lose when you don't rent. And that's really special. And you've picked, with the whole design, you've picked, and this is just one aspect, you picked the worst possible location for trash. And there are other ways of handling it.
I beg to differ, but
But you can defer, but I defer with you, and I gave it's not like I said, oh, it's terrible.
We understand, Jim.
we understand.
We hear the
We'll
comment.
move on, because I want to.
So I will want to explain the circulation of the garage as well.
Yeah.
So cars come down the ramp. And there's a control point. And then to continue to the lower level, they take this middle bay and go down. And it goes down half a level. This is half a level below, and that continues on down to the lower level. So that effectively, this area here is flat, and that's the area that, as I mentioned before, can lead you directly to the retail outside to get to the retail space.
Just in support of your statement and explaining it, the people need to understand, because it's hard to visualize, but what he just said was, you come down the driveway, you go a bit to the right on the bottom, you go a bit to the left rather, and to get to the lower level, you go down that ramp to a mezzanine level, a mid-level, which is where his cursor is right now. That's kind of in the middle of the two floors, and you proceed to the right, and then you go down from the mezzanine down to the lower lobby. That's how it's structured and constructed. So it's just tough to, that's the way it is. It's tough to visualize a bit, but in the top of the drawing, you're basically looking at a kind of mezzanine floor between the LO1 floor and the LO2 floor. My question is, why didn't you circulate it the other way? Why didn't you come in, make a right-hand turn, go down the short ramp to the mezzanine, and then take the long ramp down to LO2? That would have shortened the flight of stairs up to the street for the users that are going from the mezzanine to the street level.
Because from a traffic perspective, you don't want to immediately make a turn. Anyone who plans a garage, you want to get in the garage before you're making a turn to the ramp. And vice versa, when you're coming up the ramp, not making a very sharp left turn to get out of there. Suffice it to say, this gave us the most.
I understand it. That was just, it's an optimization. And then when we go through, and I love what you did with the upper northwest corner, the exit we go through how parking is gonna work for retail, for guests or visitors and for tenants. And we go through that in detail, it'll pan out.
And, well, I have a question. What percentage of the aisles are dead end aisles? Yeah, the one on the.
One.
You have the one immediate with that, you have two on this floor, right?
And so effectively, what percentage of the cars are?
We don't have two dead end aisles in this one, do you? This is LL1, right? So just the one on the
That's
west
dead end.
side is dead end. right?
Well, the one on the west is dead end,
Yeah,
and this
the other
is,
ones are-
this is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's the little mini ramp up, right? That,
No, the one on the east is the mini ramp up.
yeah, that one, yeah.
It
yeah,
goes
yeah,
up
yeah.
slightly
And that's
to
dead
give
end,
you
you're
headroom.
correct.
That's a dead end, as is this, the part that is presumably
You're right,
leading
you're right.
for the
How do
retail
you
market.
get to the
I'm sorry,
elevator?
you were talking
Okay.
at the same time. I didn't get the.
And we can walk through the details later, but one of the things I want to understand is how tenants will access the elevators.
So tenants will access the elevators from this area.
You're gonna make them walk up to the mezzanine to get into the
Down,
elevator.
it's down to the mezzanine.
Down to the, well, or up from L2.
You can get to it, there's space below.
There's another elevator access on the lower floor.
Yeah, there is.
The elevator has another stop.
Yeah, it has another stop below that.
Yep. So for LL1, they need to walk down to the mezzanine to get to the elevator.
For the
You
residential,
know,
which is, I
being there
think,
Anyway, but.
and it's purposeful, just to answer, it's purposeful to kind of say that the eastern half of the eastern 2/3 of this is the residential parking, and that's about the proportion that we expect to have. So that's what's gonna lead you directly into the apartments.
Okay, I understand.
And these, finished floors are about 10 feet apart.
Right, yeah.
And then how thick is the structure?
They're about 10 feet apart. And so you have,
What's the clearance?
we're allowing ourselves to 2.5 feet for structure and pipes, and so it's not a precast T
So-
garage.
My question is the grades of the ramp,
Mhm.
because you have the ramp in the middle is,
90 feet.
6.7 or 6.6%.
the grade.
Percent.
Okay, that was my question. What's the grade of the ramps?
Yeah. That's it's a standard for a parking garage is 6.6%. For a park on ramp,
Okay.
I'm sorry, for
a park on ramp.
I have a question about the ramps. Are they two-way?
Yes, it's two-way. It's park on, it's a, you've been in garages where it's cars on either side, they're wide enough to be. 18 feet and 24 feet in the middle.
To visualize that on this.
Yeah,
Because if they're getting too steep, then the doors, trouble getting in.
you're not allowed to make them that.
Sorry, you're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to make them too steep, so it is a.
You're at about a max.
Yeah, but it is industry standard for all parking garages that anyone does.
I don't think the elevator can work here. But we can validate it with you. So if you go to your LL2 floor level, where we're saying there will be an elevator stop, correct, on the lowest level? What's the elevation of that elevator door? Approximately, what do you think it is? 3?
Actually, the elevators, the entrance to the elevator is on this level. We're showing, this is basically showing 2 levels at once.
So you're
Your
saying
mezzanine,
that
there's-
all access from LL1 and LL2 will be through that elevator door, those elevator doors? Wherever I park and then.
No, because there's two different levels that are shown.
No, but they're not.
You can get to the elevators at the top of this short bit, and by the
Yeah.
time you're here, you're at the full level.
You can't get to it from there.
No, you are, because you're down a full level below this door.
But isn't
No,
the dark line that goes.
At the wall.
east-west?
That's a wall.
That's a wall.
Yeah,
So the ramp is going up to, on the right side,
Yeah.
and that's getting you to a really effectively a mezzanine level. It's about 3.5 feet above. And the other level is 9 feet below that.
Let's say I can. So I'm looking at I'm looking at LL1.
Yeah.
So I park in the stub on the right,
Yeah,
no, the other side of the wall. Right.
oh, on the ramp up?
No.
This part.
Yeah.
The
little
first-
step,
the
yeah,
first
the
row.
ramp, that's an up ramp.
that's an up ramp.
That's at 6.7 also.
Yeah,
With the
So if
handicap
if I'm parked over there, on St. Christopher Drive, how do I get to the elevator?
you walk in this door here. Right, and then if you want to get, by the time you're at this
Let me
mid-level,
ask my questions.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so now, that's how I get to there. Now, I'm on the mezzanine level, which Bob described as the mezzanine level,
On the other side of the wall.
on the other side of the wall. Now, how do I get to the elevator there?
Because that level is, sorry, I'm going back to the lower level. These parking spaces are shown on both plans. And they are a floor apart, because this part is a half level down, and this area on the upper floor is not quite a half level up. So there's enough space to get elevator doors in both places.
No,
No, see, so I'm now, okay, so I'm on the mezzanine level, okay, so you say I get to the elevator by going. I go to the wall there.
I'm sorry, could I?
There's a second,
yeah, no, it can't work. It
it's
doesn't work.
3 levels, right?
Yeah, it's,
And you only have.
it doesn't work.
Elevator doors on.
The ramp up, you get crushed on the ramp up. You don't have full headroom, the partial headroom on the ramp up. It's not a full floor. And you
don't need-
get into an elevator.
Yes.
Can my architect just speak to it and just
Yeah.
clarify?
You're basically going
It
up,
doesn't work?
not quite a half level on the stub up, and you are full half level on this, at the mezzanine. So you have a full floor of distance between those two spaces.
It's where the elevator door opens. And you can't design. an
They're
elevator
open-
that
they're
opens
opening-
using that split scenario.
No, it is. The elevator,
It can't be at the mezzanine.
it is at the mezzanine. This is the mezzanine room here.
It
Come off.
can't be there. You can't do an LL2 mezzanine and LL1 upstream with an elevator. It doesn't work. The doors don't open properly.
And it's along a ramp.
Yeah, doesn't work.
You show on that right tile, you show the up.
Yeah, it's the up, it's the mini range, let's call it.
No, but this is down. This is going down. The area at the top of this plan, I'm zoom out a bit.
Yeah, but it's a sloped floor.
It's a slope floor from this point down. This is LL2.
Two,
But these plans show this area in both plans.
correct, because it's the mezzanine.
It's the mezzanine. So on this floor, you can get to it from the side here. And on the floor above, because you've gone up 3.5 feet, you're able to get to it effectively a full elevator stop above where you went in. If you'd like us to provide a section.
No, I think.
Diagram.
I'd like them to grade it out.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Spot grades elevations on. it, because
Okay.
On level
I'm
one,
sorry, Mr. Brantley, I didn't hear. what you said.
with
Spot grades.
grade it out with spot elevation.
Be happy
It's in
to.
our report. On level one, when you come in and ramp up, is only 27 feet long before you hit the handicap parking spaces at 6
You hit the wall
feet.
too, yeah.
You come up 1.8 feet, so there's some issues that have to be worked out. It's not a half level.
No, it's not. It's crunching you against the ceiling of the ground floor units. You're right. Yeah, yes, it's saying, it's being creative and it's saying there's space here. If we run this ramp up, because we're doing the ramp down below it, right? So if we just run the ramp up in this spot, we can kind of scooch, against the ceiling and we can kind of fit a couple spaces there and maybe we can get the elevator to work. But
So, Bob Brendan's point is that the handicap has to be 2% access.
Right, the handicap is on the mezzanine, it's not in that.
But the route to the room has to be.
Yeah, well, I
So you have to go from
I
the
think the
elevator.
I
original
understand.
plan had handicap in
We'll-
there.
we'll show.
And
Wait, I'm sorry, you're
The
talking.
original plan had handicap there, I think, and you've enhanced it, so that's okay.
We don't have that one.
I, once again, don't think it's satisfactory for an apartment complex of this significance and importance that the elevator be situated that way. That people have to walk that far to it, and, I've given you the answer, so it degrades the value of the project. Go to the next, were there other questions, were there, on anything else you wanted to say about LL1?
No,
And there are two other elevators shown.
Yeah,
one is the service elevator for the residential building, so that's move in, move out.
too small, but you'll make it bigger, I'm sure.
And that's the one that's by the service stop, right?
Yeah, and the other elevator is to provide for the retail users to get across the garage and use that, get wares, if it were a restaurant, things up to the corner.
So could you discuss how it goes from the service dock to the old Palmer building,
Right.
or the existing building?
Right.
And the new.
So the old Palmer building would have as it does now, a door on the south side. There will be an opening in this wall so you can walk across the parking to get to that other service elevator so that retail space can be serviced.
So the service for the retail, other than the existing building, has to go to the parking.
That's the way they would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would leave the service area that's in the lower left-hand corner on a cart, whatever, and they, a motorized thing, and they would go right over to that door that's at the bottom of the service storage that is got there. You go right through that door and then you have access to the storage facility for retail.
So that T-shaped storage area
Where,
on the top. The new
Yes,
storage
yes.
area, that's storage for the retail?
That's storage or additional space for the retail.
that's what they recommended.
So is that included in the gross square footage?
No,
No,
So then how from that storage space does it get to the retail? If you have to if you're bringing
so next
packages
floor.
and deliveries into that area, how is it getting to the retail? That would be on the right side of the plan.
I mean, the next floor plan. We're
Right,
gonna say,
the next.
the next floor plan will show the level that's right above this, where you can see, and you're asking about the retail that's in the northeast corner,
Northeast,
correct?
correct.
Which would be the next floor.
But when, the question is, you gotta get it upstairs, so I guess you take it up the elevator.
Well, it goes up the freight elevator, what does it get to?
Just, the freight elevator just goes up one floor, right?
correct. It gets you to the
it's-
retail floor.
Oh, sorry, you mean the upper, are you talking the northwest corner elevator?
Yeah.
Or are you talking this real freight?
On the northwest corner.
That's just an elevator for that facility, that's it. Oh, done. It's internal.
Right, But when we go to the next picture, you see the storage over here. There's
On the northeast.
on the northeast corner.
There's retail of it.
Right, so you got, your question is, you got the goods.
Right, and how do you get us to the retail
How do you get up to the northeast?
I'm sorry, could you just speak one at a time, please?
The question that we're discussing is if you have goods that are delivered at the service dock, pushed through the garage to the area marked service storage on the northwest corner. How does the goods that are in that area move to the next floor and over to the retail that's on the northeast corner? That would,
Well, you're hypothesizing that retail goods are gonna get there.
well, how is it gonna get there?
Well, you just bring them out on the, you just don't do it underground.
Yeah, well, it would actually be possible to relocate that elevator and provide a way to get across this archway. And have a little sort of back service forward. Flexibility.
That's also solved in the optimization I gave you.
And the question, another question. The northwest blue area, is that all retail?
Yes. This area.
So, and you may have enhanced this, did you remove the fitness center?
No, I assumed it's on the right.
That picture?
It's here, it's off the road.
So it used to be, the original plans, the bottom of it used to be, in the courtyard, used to be the fitness center, but in the revised plans, they've relocated it, which is an improvement.
So what is the, my question is, what is the total gross square footage of the retail?
Rob, do you remember? It's about 9,900. It's 8,600 square feet of retail.
Oh, no, it's 30.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
9,230 square.
But if you measure that, those blue areas,
That's the 9,230 with the second floor of the Palmer building.
I don't think so. Because the storage is also. The storage is not included. Because that's meets the definition of gross square footage.
But it's not,
Well,
it's
in
not,
the basement of
we
the
were not
Palmer
counting
building.
that storage area. in
But
the
it,
9,000.
but it's based on the ordinance and the regulations of the.
We'll confirm it.
We'll confirm.
Yeah, easy to do.
Because I was looking at the engineering plan and there's differences in square footage.
Mhm.
So here we are at the ground floor.
Right. So this is the street frontage, which is pretty much flat, where as you know, there is a significant amount of grade change that Paul mentioned earlier. And so all the retail spaces obviously open onto that space on both streets. And the tenants of the building come through this archway and they enter a lobby and immediately find the elevators that go upstairs, not crossing. They're undercover from the streets and they're not going past other apartments to get to the elevators.
So you mentioned the tenants, just to clarify, so that is still a tenant only courtyard?
That is.
Chairman, Megan made a recommendation last time.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question again.
I was asking if the courtyard was tenant only.
We imagine the control point is somewhat back, not on the street. So some of that archway is available to the public.
No, it would be available with windows for retail to show
Yeah.
their wares. It's not publicly available. But it's useful for a retail person.
Yeah, I think the remainder of floor plan, I think, is fairly straightforward. The courtyard is flat and meets ADA requirements for being able to use it, which the current site has moments where it is steeper than 5%.
Who ADA? Tenants ADA?
Yes,
So. Couple of people.
It's a regulation.
Is a regulation. We are
Well,
required
it's
to
not
provide any sort of outdoor space has. to-
Yeah. Okay, the doors have to be. And the doors are not shown on this drawing for retail. Where are the doors?
The doors, we don't know how many retailers there might be, so there is storefront along that whole thing and you will be able to put a door wherever it makes sense, depending on the tenancies.
And it's a walk through inside the door, or is there any? Is the door that opens interior, I guess, right? There'll be a doorway into the retailer?
It's in storefront, doors in storefront.
Flat.
And it's not marked on that, in this sheet, the plan would, that's noted as the exhibit, shows, seating area.
On the northwest area, or seating area where?
Yeah, I think it's on the engineering plan.
Are you talking here? What do you call those things? The little, you got, in the court, you got little nooks or something, right?
Seating areas, these are little.
They're seating areas, okay.
There
It's
is,
on the engineering plan.
they're noted on the engineering plan, but they're drawn on this.
It shows on the engineering plan proposed cafe seating.
Yeah.
So you provide parking for the back cafe seating?
Where is the proposed cafe seating?
It's those 5 tables.
It's these 5 tables. It's in a covered area that's adjacent, would be accessible from the upper level of the Palmer building.
So is that gross square footage?
I'm not following Mr. Simoff. What's the question?
I'm concerned about the parking requirement.
Oh,
For having table amenities?
Well, restaurants are 1 per 4 seats. And retail is 1 per 300.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, how do you? That area, if it's seating for a restaurant. So yeah, if it's 5 tables, 20 seats. You need 5 more parking seats.
So, no, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Simoff, but hang on a second.
didn't we asked you something?
Why don't we? Right.
Didn't we ask you for some elevations or explanation of that area that just?
Sure.
Looks, especially now you got a door under it, right? I mean, so that's cool, but what did it look like? So you're envisioning that area, those 5 tables, right? The top 5 tables, they're associated with Palmer's second floor.
Correct.
They're an amenity for that.
Yeah.
Retail building, and they're not for there might be a window, I guess, to the right in the other. But it's not expected that anybody in the blue to the right of those tables is accessing those tables, correct?
That's correct.
It may,
I just don't.
it may, the back part of that blue area might be a restaurant.
Or it could go the other way. They're a similar levels.
There's a bagel place. All I think is, whatever it is, it's just helpful if we understand what the intent
understand.
is.
Totally.
Even if
Part of
the
it is
intent is flexible, then that should be the intent, but.
I think that is the
Little hard
intent, is
visualize.
in terms of flexibility, we don't have any set plan for those tables. We don't know who our tenants are going to be, but it's illustrative of an area
And it would
where
be
tables
quite-
can be.
It's not open to the quote. To get to that, you would need to be a patron of the retail or whatever.
Correct.
And would then have access to it. It's not like I'm walking along the street and I got a sandwich and I wanna go up there.
Sit down, yeah,
Sit down,
correct.
okay. All right, well,
Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion
it's up to
to extend?
whether you wanna break or extend.
Well, is this do you wanna just, do you have much more?
Why don't I run through the other plans and then actually answer the question of what that space is?
Okay.
I'll take a motion to extend for 15 minutes.
So,
All in favor?
Yeah, okay. All right,
I have one more question on this first floor. Back there, the mailroom that's just US mail, or is that gonna be for packages as well?
It's just US mail.
Just US mail, packages come down to the.
Yeah, and again, I think this is an operations thing that is, one has found that it has evolved a lot.
Do the apartments
year.
on the first floor facing the courtyard, do they have access? Right, you walk out from your apartment right into the courtyard?
Yeah, the ones that are
Something?
on the south wing have little gardens. And it should also be noted that the elevation of those floors is about a foot above the courtyard, just so it's. And that actually is partially due to a way to provide additional headroom where that ramp. If you remember, the ramp underneath the north-south wing goes.
so those are like little patios.
They're little
outside-
patios, but
outside
not on this end because it didn't seem very nice.
Okay.
So.
Was that the only? Yeah. Those are the two, okay.
If I could. Look. And these are fairly straightforward, just apartments
Well, so what we're seeing here is the second and third
and
floor,
third floor.
correct?
Yeah.
They're mirrored.
We have a 2-bedroom apartment over the loading now.
Yeah.
15 feet up.
And it's in that, 36 foot, right?
So you made the statement, this is the second and third floor. So let's think of the elevator grade difference between the frontage and where the loading dock is. Yes?
No,
It's all the same grade.
the first floor is the courtyard level, so it's flat.
Alright.
There is a basement that effectively the parking becomes a basement as it moves down along Mount Airy. It becomes exposed by one level and
Right,
along the entire south frontage.
the elevation. shows it.
Got it.
Why don't I get to those? The fourth floor is slightly different because we have the lower half of a gambrel roof, if you will. So that there are roofs that come in. Some of them are full on gables, but most of them are relatively steep, and you zoom in spots. You can see these areas that are really too low to stand in. They're gray. Those are in full gable roofs.
Once again, for value, we do want you to consider gambrel roofs, not gabled. So architecturally, we seriously need you to look at using gambrel roof, because this is one of the reasons it devalues the project by having this kind of incursion into the space for these rooms. The fourth floor is obviously where the most impact is for roof treatment. There are some differences in the fourth floor. Oh, there are like some one bedrooms up there, right, on the eastern
Yeah.
enclosure? But it's not,
It's partially due, the,
You want the
on the
number of
fourth floor,
units.
no, it's also partially due to the impacts of the roof.
Mhm.
And the roofs have
Due to the impact of what? Sorry.
of the roofs. And the roofs have an impact, no matter what they are. One of the, like, there was a question about this, the bump out. And
Oh, yeah.
it is specifically designed to be a sort of a feature and be a thinner element that's coming against the street as opposed to the full 60-foot depth of
Well, the
the.
county just come along and knocking off the edge of your building, that's all. So,
Well, along with
you gotta build to
the
allow
Palmer
for that.
building.
Every little bit helps.
So, the roofs are designed so that, they look like the lower half of a gambrel, because you normally can't see the top half of a gambrel. But it creates these wells in which we are able to put all of the mechanical equipment, so it is not visible from outside. This would include any generators that we have to have. That are able to be basically disguised completely from the public view, and there's enough room for them.
So that's not enough mechanical units to support the number of units you have.
Yes.
And I want you to talk about the terrace and why there is a terrace and all of the aspects of it. As opposed to the mechanicals, which do need to be placed somewhere, because they won't fit where you've got them.
Well,
for retail and for those units.
Enough units will fit on that side.
No.
We're doing an 11-story building, the same ratio. And the same amount of roof, and those units do fit there.
Okay, so this is a conceptual drawing, basically. Let's keep it at that.
There is enough room. I will just say, there is enough room for the mechanical equipment for all of the apartments. To be located in that spot.
It's just not on the plans.
These little boxes are mechanical.
Little box, about 40.
Yeah, you haven't shown us on the plans.
There's only about 40 boxes in it.
Yes, BRF units don't need to be one per unit.
And retail, yeah. Okay, that's gonna be interesting to sell too, okay.
So what is access to the roof terrace?
The roof terrace is only access from the 3 apartments that are directly underneath it. Because we really can't, we don't want to make the building taller and provide egress and elevator access there.
So. Wow.
So
And will there be any structures there?
without
I'm
elevator
sorry.
access to the roof, how do you carry the equipment?
I'm sorry, can I get that again? Everybody was asking the question.
So you have to, if you don't have elevator access to the roof, access is from the 3 apartments, you said?
No, for the roof terrace.
Wow.
So if you have to do a major repair, the tenant has to allow access to their apartment?
No,
Okay,
sorry.
It's a roof it's just the roof terrace area, it's not the mechanicals.
The mechanical area.
okay, I'm sorry.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
I was confusing them. I
So the
apologize.
access to the mechanical area is through.
Through the stair and the top, trapdoor on the top of the elevator.
Okay.
Get
Sorry, can I get that?
a trapdoor on the
very
top of
nice.
the elevators to get larger pieces of equipment in and out.
I'm not saying
That's- What's that?
I cut you off. I'm not saying how to get the access to the roof terrace. Like she said, it's from the 3 units, but how do you get there? There's no doors shown there.
Go downstairs and you hold a martini glass.
Are there any structures on the roof terrace? It's gonna be pretty hot up there.
I think it's a sort of place that you go if you want to. We all know this is another thing that people are very fond of, be able to say they have access to some roof terrace, and we will have a spiral stair out of the, 3 spiral stairs out of those units to get up there.
So it's an amenity for the 3 penthouses.
I just had a question regarding the plan that was originally submitted and the plan that you're showing here. The width of the mechanical area and the roof terrace is much wider. Are you decreasing the angle of the roof, or I'm just wondering why there's such a difference?
I think we have,
It's hard to say, I mean, this was the first time we're seeing that plan, but I'm looking at the plans that were submitted previously. And there's a clear difference in those dimensions. I'm wondering why, or how it's being achieved with the roof line, or.
we've just been more careful in the way that we've drawn that based on the actual sections.
The beneficial side effect of gambrel roofing is exactly that. It gives you the option to have a more vertical wall as part of the roof, the first part of the roof, to have the curb be pretty vertical over the face.
Right.
And the end result is you get the benefit of a larger top of the roof,
Right.
say, and you're apparently leveraging that, so.
Yeah, I would actually say we are doing that. That is exactly what we're showing is something steep. It's the bottom half of the gambrel.
Yep.
And we're just not doing the invisible part.
Yeah, from the street it's invisible, though. I mean.
That's an aesthetic thing then, but I think the gables that are shown on the street are different, have a different angle than that. Those pieces.
I was in shed dormers. You really need to think about that roof. What? Now, this is gonna go on, it's like, there's lots of questions.
Sorry.
There are a number of architectural questions that are gonna be related to fire safety and so forth. We do need to continue. And I think, so therefore, John, you're.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the laptop died. So I don't know where a natural break.
I think that became a natural break.
How do we make that the natural break, Chairman?
Okay. Now, you mentioned something about availability.
Yeah, so we actually are not available on the 14th. Next meeting date is the 28th. I understand Mr. Troutman is also available that night, so we'd like to pick back up again on the 28th of March.
And all the questions you asked. Oh.
Yeah, you'll give us an extension of time to actually the end of the month of March?
Yes,
Okay, we just shoot a one-liner,
I'll shoot a one-liner.
and then, if we're going to the 28th,
I'll actually make it the end of April,
Yeah.
there you go.
so we don't.
Thank you. And for the benefit of the public, this matter is gonna be carried without further notice to the March 28th, 2024 meeting, 7:30 PM, the same room.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
I have one question. Did we take appropriate actions, not with respect to this application, but did we take appropriate action with respect to the property on the corner of Jill and Claremont? I'm running out.
Wait, I'm sorry, they need to.
We're good.
Oh, we're done. We're done with. Have a great night. We're
We're still on.
Wait.
We're not adjourned yet. I think there's a question as to pending matters, so. The,
I mean, you
got the agenda, Andy?
Steve, do we have to go to executive?
No. We're still carrying on business, so if everybody can please file out quietly or stay if you want, but we're still trying to do a little bit more business before. So thank you.
Thank you.
The agenda has a page connecting.
When is the agenda?
Right. Yeah. We're just for the record, Mr. Chairman, to respond to the inquiry by Vice Chairman. Excuse me,
That's right.
Horowitz. The Equinet matter, that is a pending application that gives us an extension of time to act through February 29, 2024. Denise is gonna contact them immediately, to find out whether they are, either gonna further extend our time to act beyond the end of February, or alternatively, withdraw with or without prejudice their application, or what their intention is. And I'll work with her in that regard, and we'll report back.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
That's why I asked about 2 weeks.
If they're not gonna extend the time to act, they're gonna withdraw with or without prejudice.
Or they might say they have an automatic approval.
Yeah, that's
Now,
wrong.
they're not gonna say they have an automatic approval, because if they don't extend the time to act, then we can have the board have a special meeting and dismiss without prejudice their application,
But it's
We
29.
don't have a
or
whole,
with prejudice, for that matter.
we don't have a whole lot of time, so we gotta get going on this.
We have a week.
We.
All we need is a quorum. And
You have to notice.
And it's notice, 48 hours.
Why don't we have a resolution to say what we intend, what the possibilities are?
We can have, right now, if the board wishes, we can have a verbal resolution that in the event the applicant does not extend time to act beyond February 29, 2024, at least through to and including our next meeting thereafter, then this board will deem the application withdrawn, dismissed without prejudice.
Or would it be denied?
There are options. It's not my motion to make. I threw one out there for you if you wanted it. A dismissal without prejudice, I believe, would
But is the,
satisfy the concern.
is the dismissal our call or their call?
A dismissal's our call, withdrawal is their call.
Okay, so we have 4 surviving.
So we can provide for a dismissal.
Eligible.
Without prejudice or with prejudice, but I would recommend without prejudice. In the event, they do not extend the time to act till at least our next meeting. And they have to do so prior, on or before February 29th.
Mr. Howard, did you just make that motion?
I did.
I'll second
All in favor?
And we could, since it's a
Oh, it's
verbal
only-
resolution, we'll do a roll call.
Is it only for the eligibles? There are only 4 eligible.
Well, this is on the extension,
On the
so,
application itself.
other than, is anybody recused on that matter? No, so everybody can vote. Yeah.
It's just,
This is just on whether or not to extend
it.
it.
It's a procedural.
It's a procedural vote, it's not a substantive vote on the item.
Theoretically, board members that. didn't-
Steve, the real lawyers.
They're gonna be hearing, they're gonna be potentially qualified.
Whatever you say, well.
I appreciate it.
Do,
The short answer is they
do
can
you
vote.
want to vote? What, you want a roll call?
Roll call, please.
Okay, and just before, it was Mr. Horowitz that made the motion and Mr. McQueen that second?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gardner,
Yes.
Ms. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Horowitz.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
Mr. Simoff,
Yes.
Mr. Walden,
Yeah.
and Mr. Zazarino.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Was Jack supposed to do any response to that email? Their transmittal? Can you just look at it again and see?
I'll
Just
Yeah, I don't know if Jack was
I
supposed to or not,
Who's it?
but, we have a resolution now in place. Thank you for, the contingency.
Okay, so they're showing up in 4 weeks, correct?
It was just.
28.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we, and Jay's gonna, he'll do each year the 28 with whatever. What, is there anything for the? We need to discuss anything for next year, Denise?
Heading out, do we anticipate having anything, for the next meeting?
I mean, obviously. the answer.
I just have to check the calendar as to when the lot line investment.
Now, that is why.
Yeah.
And I
We get.
And in theory, could that one end up being on the 14th? Is that?
Well, that's a theoretical possibility. I wouldn't, my recommendation would be.
No, don't do
Try
anything.
to cancel, don't cancel yet.
Right. No, I wouldn't be cancel. Just wondering.
Just as a clarification, I know I'm gonna be out west again that week. The 20th.
Oh,
Did we change, so we can no longer attend virtually as the current?
You can attend, but you can't vote, you can't participate. But if we're not voting that day and you certify that you were on the live stream, then you can pick up the next week, like you did this week.
yeah, you don't have to be watching. So you have to have a little set of questions to go. You know.
I'll give my, my text them.
That's not nothing. Anything?
If you're, remote that evening, you can still ask a question.
I can still ask questions?
Yeah.
I thought we couldn't.
How?
How?
Are we gonna do like what we did with, we did it once with you, right, Joe? Like you had your own little
We can hear you,
special.
you can ask a question.
That's usually
But you can't do that on YouTube, that's the problem, it's not Zoom.
Oh, I'm sorry, if you can't, technologically, if you can't do it, never mind.
Technologically.
I don't think we'll hear you that much.
Give you a secret emoji.
I was answering what I thought was a legal question, a technological question.
Well, we did have pseudo hybrid. We had a private Zoom.
Yeah.
I think for John,
It's okay.
and that allowed Jeff to participate.
But that
But it was not a public Zoom.
That wasn't on a matter, that was on the administrative, reorganization.
A reorganization. Yeah.
That's fine. I'm certain that this will not include one meeting more. I can send Jeff any questions that I have that are burning. I'm certain the team will ask them, and then I'll just pick it back up.
All right, you done? You dropped it down?
I think I need one of those.